Yeah, I can't. I'm just can't do that. We just can't do that. We can't do that.
Look at that face. Look at that face. What a pun. It's possible. I think it's not.
Oh, we should have 5 to. Oh, we really don't have 5. Five is virtual. Yeah, you never gave me permission.
I got to do same things. That's fine. Someone. You don't have to go in. Yes, absolutely. You can. Whatever you sell.
Oh.
All right, we got it. All right, forget it.
Oh, okay. 5 for you. Yes.
Okay, that was good. That was good.
This is not.
Yeah, wait. Later. Oh, this space, sure. Yeah. Last one, very good. Say it out. And on this.
So, ready? Good evening, everyone. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending notice of the time, date, location, and set agenda of this meeting at Asbury Park Press, to be posted on January 27, 2003, via email. Copies of this notice has been placed at the administrative building support, district schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Municipal Department, and filed with the state clerk on January 27th. Asbury Park District will provide all students with comprehensive and progressive education for everyone possesses the skills and character to succeed in the diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please.
Mr. Crowe.
Here.
Slavinsky.
Here.
Dr. Bennett. Director. Here. Ms. Reyes. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Saunders. Ms. Osborne. Ms. Coe.
Please rise for the last.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow.
Well,
Want to make a motion to allow Ms. Ricks and Ms. Osborne to participate in public meeting by virtual. Mr. Bennett, I think it's on. So yes.
second. Aye. Aye.
Roll call, please. Yes.
Slavinsky, yes. Ms. Coe.
Yes.
Mr. Crowe.
Yes.
Mr. Rennie.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes. Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Ms. Osborne.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yes, you are.
Good evening, everyone, and those watching television, virtual spaces as well. This evening we have two presentations. First, I would like to take a point of personal privilege, as this is Mr. Hastings' last official meeting as the school business administrator. He has served the district with distinction throughout the many years of his role. We are sorely going to miss his support, his leadership, his insight, his commitment and dedication to the families of the Asbury Park community. He is a man with few words, so I'm sure this public recognition and accolades of his work over the course of many years, and particularly the last several years with our extreme financial crisis, has been a steady partner on behalf of the community of learners and the families here in Asbury Park. And so in years to come, when they look back at this period of time, they may not recall the individuals who steadied this rocky road. However, rest assured, Mr. Hastings, that you will have done a yeoman's job in securing the educational futures of the students in this community, and I want to personally thank you. The next presentation you'll have before you, if you turn to your right left, is the NJGPA results. That will be presented to you this evening by Director of CU9, Mr. Evan Ruiz. And I will ask that you include any questions that you may have until the end, as he will thoroughly explain in comparison the NJ GPA results from 2023 administration, as well as the prior years of administration of this same assessment. Mr. Ruiz.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, public, of course, and the board members, as well as our distinguished directors and other administrators. Wanted to take the opportunity to present, as you know, the state requires us to present our results to the public and in front of the board for any of our assessments. We got the NJGPO results this year, and sometime in the late June, early July. And we get to the board, get started as soon as possible because I think there's some very numbers I want to share with you all. As you know, just to kind of go over what the NJGPA is, it's a statute that requires the state graduation proficiency assessment to be administered to all 11th graders. Last year, it was a field test. As you recall, a lot of controversy, I guess, that's what we put in with the result, because most school districts didn't do as well as what they would. Of course, us included, it became a big deal. There was a field test, but the field test was setting up what the permanent test that they were going to use for graduation requirements, which this year, this test is reflective of that. So NJGPA is designed to measure the extent to which students are graduation ready in English, language arts, and mathematics. They will measure graduation readiness for separately for each content component. The ELA component is aligned to 10th grade, and math is aligned to algebra 1 and geometry. Okay, this basically talks about on May 3rd that the State Board of Education adopted the proficiency level test scores for English and math, the NJGPA, as well as the reading and assessments that allow us test scores. Students who take but do not meet the minimum required score on each component of the assessment will have the opportunity to receive additional support. So if we take the ELA mathematics component or the graduation proficiency assessment, we will follow the sum of the four. Or if we need designated support from the making of substitute competency test and complete a portfolio. Students have multiple ways to improve passing and be able to graduate. Okay, so these are some results just to remind everyone to protect students' privacy data for cohorts with fewer than 10 students are excluded from this report. So you see some parts of the report, some information is redacted, there's a dash because it's less than 10 students. You see that we say less than 10, and that's why you don't see results. So identify who the students will be. So let's start with the overall as required NJGPA achievement. So on the left column is the not passing column. And on the right is the passing column. You recall last year numbers are reflected in red, 2021-22 data. Remember, 94% of our students did not pass. 6% did. See the difference this year? 52% not passing, 47% passing. So I've had to do the numbers. I had to go online and figure out the percentage. What's the percentage difference between 6% and 47%? 683% increase by percentage. But it's the same percentage like the state, because we actually increased one, actually went with the state. The state also increased by 48 percentage points, we increased by 41%. And in mathematics, again, doing that fund math, there's 140% increase and 5% to 200. And you can see the overall results right below that for all the results for most students. Take that same data and I'm breaking up that graph. Students are broken up here, ELA and math, Black and Hispanic, all students. Highlighted the all students because now you see the actual numbers that go along the percentages we just saw earlier. And again, the red, you see the last year data, so it's 100 out of 103 students. Last year we had 107 students. 101 students did not pass. This year, they're coming down to 50. So 6 students passing to 48 students passing. That's significant. It's obvious. See the numbers. Same thing with math. With math, which is one of our big focuses this year. 103 versus 91, 5 versus 12. Same information now broken up by subgroups. So you can see our students who are reduced. Section 504, again, that's the 10, on the 11th is the 10th, is the 11th grade we're talking about here. Special ed, gen ed. So you can see that's working through our special ed students. Then our gen ed, again, you can see the numbers, kind of go along with what you saw earlier. 48 of those students passed 55. So what are our action steps? So you recall last year, our major focus and our district goal was connected to the superintendent's goal, right? District goal on writing, so the writing across the curriculum. So these are the kinds of things you do. You have to react to the numbers we had last year. You see the results that have come about. New high school schedule that continues here along PLA and AB schedule to align with the state assessment timetable. In the past, we had semester-based courses. Now we kind of stretch them out across the years of students always learning either math or language arts at the able students, which is just one semester. Ongoing teaching instructional academies, writing and reading strategies. We ran one last year. We're going to start running one this year sometime in October. Ongoing professional development focused on daily STEM strategy and placement. We have continue our one-on-one monitoring classes and the ongoing PLCs and data-driven decision-making with the school district resource that I already get set up. HVAC and HVD. And continue grade level articulation on writing and personalized writing instruction with the NGS instead of the curriculum. Math is going to be our focus. So as you can see, 2023, 2024, the district goal and focus on mathematics is going to be across the grade levels. Again, we move from a semester-based math now to a 4-year AB schedule. We're going to work on conceptual understanding. We're going to continue our teaching professional development to teach conceptual understanding. Our second math cohort, our first cohort we did last year was math. We're running our second one now. This summer we just had the first. And this week, coming up with the week after, the high school grades are going to have their cohorts. Because we've already run 2 math cohorts in our teacher academy. One for the lower grades, one for the upper grades. We're running the lower grades, just the second one just ran last week. The other grade one the week after this. Standards-based instruction, with major standards, it's outlined. And again, using our district resources. Also looking at pacing. One of the things that our math supervisor, Don Rizzo, is doing is changing the pacing to match what the students need to know at the right time. So sometimes the books are written in a certain way, in sequential order. When the order is written, does not match with the way that they are tested and assessed. Or some of the topics that they're tested and assessed comes very late in the year when it should be a lot earlier. And again, some topics are better suited earlier so that can support other topics. So we're going through the units and now curriculum to realign the pacing of the curriculum to match that. Again, we're going to prerequisite skills, grade level content, taught during small group instruction, and again, we're going to be connected to this role as I mentioned at the time. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, we will take it.
I have a question. President, I'll go back and but my first is about this. Right now, you know, we see that's one of our eyes. Now, right now, when you look at curriculum over each semester, each year, in all curriculums, how do we assess as they're going along that they're understanding and especially that testing in that end of the year? How do we know, do we have plans for extra tutelage, extra, work? Sometimes I listen to see that background of some of these kids with the continual learning basis. What are we doing to make sure that the person's coming in knows an algebra? As we're teaching them, making sure that they get their information. What are the procedure tools after school? So,
Good evening, Mr. Rogers. To answer a few of your questions, first, we utilize Lincoln, which is our data warehouse. We utilize this on the bottom. We utilize Lincoln as a resource repository for the last over 12 years. They disaggregate the data for us. They break it down by standards and by streams, as well as grades. So we input not only formative assessments as well as summative assessments. We also utilize various points in the year to do a benchmark as well as periodical assessments throughout the year. So we'll do a Lincoln A, we'll do a Lincoln B, we'll Lincoln C throughout the year. So we're gathering data from those fields. Specifically, as we talk about the instructional capacity, when we look at, as Mr. Ruiz indicated, we're looking at the pacing guide and aligning the instructional focus to the NJSLA standards to meet the opportunity for students to be exposed to the instructional standards that are assessed at the end of the year. Also, one of the things that we did under my leadership is we revamped the schedule for the high school students from semester-based to full year. And what that has done is a semester is about, let's say, a normal 24 week. The students would comprise the entire instructional calendar in that time and would move on to another course. Now, allowing them to retain the skills that they were receiving during that course. So moving to a year-long course, allowing our students to not only be exposed to the instruction, but also to have it on a continuing basis. So that was another method that we've done to improve the instruction and adjusting the calendar within schedule. When we look at our assessment scores from the prior year, from the 2021-2022, which is indicated in red, I would focus your attention again on at the 2021-2022, 95% of our 11th graders did not show proficiency on this same assessment. With our focus, as well as adjusting our schedule and making it a year-long course, we were able to drastically improve those percentages from 95% down to 88%, meaning increasing from 5% proficient to 12% proficient. And when you look at the statistics of that, going anywhere over 50% increase is a huge indication of progress. Are we anywhere near the indication of numbers and percentages that we need to be? Absolutely not. The 12% is still exceptionally low, but we are nowhere near 5%. And that's an indication of the adjustments that we've made in our schedule. As Mr. Ruiz indicated, one of the things, again, under my leadership as superintendent, was the implementation of the instructional academies for staff. So we started last year with writing and English. This year we began with our math group. And so we've been working with our elementary teachers as well as our secondary math teachers through the work of the C&I department in order to build capacity and instructional competence of our staff in order to address the areas that indicated from our data that we've gotten from Lincoln as well as from the NJSLA. So we're taking various points of data, we're disaggregating it, we're looking at what is working instructionally. How we monitor that on a daily basis is by our instructional walkthroughs, by our evaluations, by our grade level meetings and our PLCs, which go over the content and provide instructional support, as well as our reduced stage where we provide professional development, which is led by our math supervisor.
So basically, also that LinkedIn information that you said, getting updated. How is this board? Say we get into November. How do we know this is actually going on? What procurement data will give us back to let us know that these things will be happening?
Maybe I'm confused. Empirical data, this is empirical data.
I know if I may, I get updates during the year, so I see these assessments and stuff.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What, how do we get it?
The first page.
By law, we have to present this to the board.
No, this is the data, you know, that's come at the end. I'm talking about that in progress. I'm making sure that we, like I was asking, figure out periodic updates as to what, are we being deficient? You know, do we have 10 kids that aren't getting it? And then what are we doing when they're not getting it? What are the other supplemental, protocols we're putting in place to make sure? I just right now, I'm talking on on a regular basis. I'm a parent.
So one of the things that we have to answer that question is we have RTI, which is response to intervention, which is a three-tiered approach, which is tier one, which is actual classroom instruction. Tier two, which we have, where we provide additional instructional support, and we sort of triage what the concerns are. It could be from student needs glasses to student needs additional support to a variety of other variables that may impact a student's comprehension or focus or social emotional. All those things are things that are in the day-to-day focus standpoint that we utilize our parts in our model, utilizing data, utilizing meetings. That is one of the things that is overseen by Dr. Howard Morris in terms of our RTI. The other piece that we also have is once it gets to tier three and students are still having some challenges, we have Ms. Vaughn Cloud, our Director of Special Services. So when we begin to look at the data in terms of resources and instructional interventions for our students, that is something that we utilize regularly on the elementary level, at the middle, and at the high school level. And so those are not things that we would necessarily report back to the board because it is given individual student specifics, but we have those measures in order to provide supports to students in addressing the instructional challenges that students may have. And so the one thing that we do provide to the board is as we get our related assessment, we do provide that information and those results based upon the NJSLA standards. And so the assessments on the linking are aligned to the NJSLA. And if you understand, how they are structured, they're meant to give us a more summative assessment to see where our students are, and then we build off of that. And so that information is provided to the board on a regular and ongoing basis as we get those results. But when we look at the state assessment, NJSLA, as well as this report, the NJGPA, those are some of the reports that our students have to take under state requirements, and then we have to wait for that information to come back to us. We did are required by law within a certain time frame to present that information to the board and to give the specifics of what numbers and our results.
No, I understand the legal obligation, or you understand what I'm asking?
So we get.
Yeah.
We got it.
I guess how will we be getting those periodic reports? They tell us, what are we gonna hear from, the record curriculum, by November that, we've gone through and they let the, structural criteria in that, and I know this person or this amount of people are taking and they successfully completed it and understand it.
Mr. Luis presents linking that.
So for us, it's just a matter of always doing our own, we do our own check-ins every month, every couple of weeks, I even my supervisors. One of the first things we do is we look at data. We can just how it's okay, we actually export or import other forms of data into the of course, we also with the data from Ireland. Ireland is one of our programs that helps tier one intervention with our students. So students having trouble with algebra or math, any subject for that matter. We have a way of looking at that, the students on their daily. That gives us a really good indication of where they are. And then when our supervisors pull that data, we meet the coaches, we meet the principals, and do weekly CPTs and OPLCs. They're working with teachers on a weekly basis to look at that data, start to make assessments and start to determinations of where our students should be, what they need.
Also,
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, the day-to-day oversight of the instructional programs is something that we take very serious. As a superintendent, that is my daily charge to address the instructional outcomes. I think as we look at the policies related to the interventions and those resources and the allocations of those resources, that is where I would lead to the board to provide their insight and support to. But I think as we look at the day-to-day instructional focus of the district, we've discussed where we plan to address some of these issues in terms of the teacher academies. Also, the ongoing professional development, the assessing of our instructional materials and resources, the continuation of ongoing consultants that come in and provide readiness on our technology infrastructure. So those are all aspects that impact the day-to-day teaching and learning relationship between the teacher and the student, and the oversight of the building administrators to the support staff of the central office, to our intervention resource professionals, of our child study teams, our social emotional learning staff members. All of those are pieces that have an intricate part in the overall impact of our students' day-to-day teaching and learning focus. And so when we look at the district as a whole, and we look at the results of this presentation, in 1 year's time, we managed to move from 94% of our students not passing this state assessment to 12% passing in mathematics and 47% in ELA. And again, I want to bring that correlation to the district's focus last academic year, on writing across the curriculum, and in every area that has shown to be a positive trajectory forward. We went from 95% of our students in the 11th grade not doing well to 47% doing well. And when we look at it, from going from 6% to 47%, as a district that has had single district outcomes on state assessment, this is by far the largest gain in maybe the last 15 years in one academic year under my leadership. And not to mention the significant budget cuts that we've had to contend over the last 2 years.
This was 11th grade, right? And how was this data collected? Was it like all 11 graders, or just like a certain few?
Every 11 graders required to take that exam.
Okay, so this is the data from every 11 graders. Okay.
To be eligible 11 graders to take that exam.
Okay, from last year to this year, that's the comparison.
That's correct.
All right. Spot on. Great job.
So we go back a couple slides, I think there's something missing from the grant.
Yeah, and the last 2 slides, right? Just the right. That's
One that shows the special ed, yeah. So what are
Yeah, we're missing, I just realized that. I'm doing like super.
No, that's all right. So really quick, what do we need to do? Yeah, none of the special ed students pass, right? What do we need? I get the list that something, but, what do we need to do to focus specifically on them? And then where are we falling short? I guess what I want to say, have we identified the reason why none of the special ed students have passed?
And then also just where are we falling short with, at the end of the day, it is the rest of the increase. From 5% to 12%, but how many kids are in the 11th grade? Okay, so we could say it went from around 5 kids to 12 kids now passing.
That's the math.
And right, not to remember with that, where are we falling short with that? So we can build on.
I understand where you're going. Yeah, let me give you just something to kind of crunch on a little bit as well. State, and so if you look at the increase that we had and you compare it against the state, we actually did a little better than that percentage wise, because the increase in the state last year was 50% failing, 50% passing. From 45 to 55, failing, passing. The state, that the same amount of change or growth in the state is no different than ours. So we're to be where I'm going with this, I can see that the same challenges that we're having, the state is having. So, and the numbers prove it out. Just look, we compare last year to this year, compare last year's state numbers to this year's state. So I just want to give that context because I think it's important to know that it's a struggle everywhere. It's not just Asbury Park.
And usually in Asbury Park, if it's a struggle, like let's say cold snap, it's like it's beyond a struggle. So I think I totally understand that.
So we're trying to celebrate the things we're doing, but I think it's important, and Dr. Adams has alluded to and be very clear, that by no means we're sitting and jumping up and down saying we're doing great. We have to address some issues.
I would like to have Ms. Lab address the question regarding our special needs students, because she is the director and she has some very clear activity that she's been doing and working in her area to address just this concern.
Before you address that, I want to make sure that I want to make sure that we've identified where we're falling short, and then what we're going to do to remedy that. So I want to hear like where are we actually falling short, and where we go into what the solution is.
So the tagline for the Department of Special Services is the best at getting them. We have identified that we need to build instructional capacity across all educators in the district. In particular, those educators who are charged with meeting the needs of some of our most vulnerable learners, and those are classified students. So we're really honing in on the instructors' academies and how to provide professional development, particularly in and across those classrooms where there's a co-teaching model that's being used. Oftentimes, students are put in an inclusive setting, and that's always what we want, is that least restrictive environment. But the educators need to know how to work effectively, collaboratively, to ensure that the appropriate modifications and accommodations are being put in place for those students.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not connected to that. I'm only this.
Welcome, Michael Cannon.
Yeah, audio. You can see video and audio. They don't speak. Yeah, they can hear us. Well, they can see us, but they can't hear us.
They can't hear the PA system.
They can view, but they can't see.
Microphones are on. While, documents looking at section, do I have a motion for adoption of the minutes on page 2? Item 12, and
I'll move it. Second.
Mrs. Linsky,
Yes.
Ms. Coker?
Yes.
Mr. Burley?
Yes.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Riggs?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Ellsback?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's for consent agenda for items on page 1V1. The addenda on page V8.
I'll move it. Second.
Is it this time to ask questions about that, or?
It's a different thing.
There's no better time. All right, so BA #1, so the objective is to get a superintendent. Well, it's a little not hard, to get a supervisor. And we already have a director. So what's the difference? So why can't the director just handle it if we losing the supervisor? What else gotta happen?
In terms of the replacement of Mr. Weinstein,
Yeah,
because the oversight of the child study teams, the legal ramifications and the instructional support for the special needs or special services department, we just heard a question regarding how we're providing support for staff. We look at the number of students, so this is a replacement of a position that was already board approved and budgeted.
this is all budgeted for.
Correct.
So this number here is not really gonna, it's not gonna hurt us in a sense.
The number in terms of the
Salary,
that is commensurate with
it's already included.
that is, we have that budget. And that's consistent with the experience and the negotiated salary guide for those individuals going into that collective bargaining.
So we're doing it replacing the result.
This was just put on the agenda to allow.
Yeah.
May I just say that we did talk about this on personnel committee meeting, we talk about the entire personnel agenda. And sometimes what happens, there may not be a name. We have the meeting because we're doing interviews or following up with an individual they selected, they have to set, set the salary, et cetera, for the individual. And maybe they hadn't accepted the position yet, so that could come up. And of course, it's all positions, that's what's important, that for some purposes it's July, so the person will only have in August, they get ready for September, and the kids are in school, so we wait another month, then the person would have to wait another month to start, so that squeezes in the beginning of school.
Did we get any word out to the personnel committee?
There's no, I don't even know.
I am graded in this,
So,
salt bedding, and what do you think of this rest?
Yeah, they read,
Oh,
you
you,
want to see it, right?
Mr. Remy, you're on first.
And I wasn't there, but
Did you look at the agenda?
I was only in building.
this was put on the agenda 2 hours ago.
No, it was on the personnel agenda, we had our committee meeting. You got it in the email.
Yeah. Well, we didn't read the meeting meetings yet, right?
The personnel conduct minutes.
So just in general, but we still get committee meetings today, right?
You in the committee talking about this?
Minutes.
There are no personnel minutes. It's up.
I was saying in general, whatever.
Yeah.
I was saying, I mean, I didn't hear.
No, I understand. I understand. This is just a replacement, that's the way they have this resigned. It's not a new position. And remember, we don't have vice principals or any schools, supervisors, help with that, capacity. With everything.
There's a person with substance law and in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like the folks that are on the personnel committee, I just got this while I was driving from Martin 2 hours ago. And it's the first time I've seen anything about this. So it makes it kind of difficult because I want to be able to digest this and ask some appropriate questions about the position. And I can't.
Position not new.
Position's not new, but
Replacing somebody who has resigned.
right, but we're talking about how we're trying to save money by cutting different positions and everything. So how many?
This is a special ed also position. And when the committee meetings heard, the majority of the board should trust that the committee who's vetting this has talked about everything that needs to be talked about, whether it's buildings and grounds, whether it's athletics, whether it's policy, whether it's finance. And you take the, you hope that the committee recommendation would be withhold some water. If you're going to question what the committee did, then maybe we should go back to the committee as a whole, so that all these items can be talked about, and we can have 2 meetings a month instead of 1, and then all these things can be vetted by the right people. But we have difficulty with a quorum of 1 meeting, so I think that probably would not be advisable. That would be something the board would have to decide. But the personnel committee members met, they talked about it. It's not a new position. And if you don't want to fill the position, just vote no. And then the special ed department will not have a supervisor to oversee those things.
So having a child who has special ed difficulties, this is important to me. So that's why I'm asking the question, why this is popping up, at least on my agenda, 2 hours before. I have a lot of questions about the duties of supervisor, the supervisor as opposed to the director. And, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to vote no or abstain on this because I just haven't had a chance to even wrap my head around. I think it's more about making sure that if we're gonna win a position of this level, where it's over $100,000, step 5 of supervisor salary, that we don't get it, but 2 hours before a meeting. Now, I understand that some folks are retired, they will work, they have plenty of time to do it. But, for the rest of us that do work and, the agenda that pops up, that's a problem. So I don't mean to vent about it, but it's a little frustrating. So with that, I have those things. I don't know anything about this. So I'll leave it at that. So.
Well, my question is, and I'm just recollecting, this position seemed like it was filled continuously in the last 2 years. Dr. Adams, maybe I'm wrong, was this a supervisor, especially in the last 2 years, how many people were being added to this position?
So we have had several individuals who have filled this role Some have taken, a director's position in another district. The other has taken an assistant director's position in another district. The other has made, personal family decisions to remain at home with their family. And so in those three vacancy positions, two of them have taken elevated positions above the supervisor role, and one has decided to put family as their primary reason for resigning from the position.
That's some of the questions I think we need to know as to what was going on with that. And like I said,
The role in the position is a intricate part of providing the day-to-day instructional support for our staff in the special ed area. It is one of those parts of the position, just like chemistry and the like. It is also a entry-level leadership position where a lot of individuals do cut their teeth as supervisors and look to elevate thereafter. And so when we look at having middle management and lower level middle management, we also have to take into consideration that a lot of these individuals are not going to be lifers in that position. It's very similar to a vice principal who has aspirations and professional aspirations of becoming a higher level leader. So do many individuals who enter the leadership realm as a supervisor. And so when we look at the area that we are servicing, and we look at the importance of the individuals, I go back to Ms. Wazinski's commentary, whereby in the personnel committee, this was an ongoing interviewing process. If you look at the fact that we have had to post the position, the posting had to close, we've had to vet through candidates, and we have a three-interview process whereby we're vetting individuals through a rigorous process. And so that process is something that everyone who comes on board has to go through in order to ensure that we have competent individuals coming on board to take on the seriousness of the roles in which they are duty bound to oversee. And so this is not something that we could have rushed. However, finalizing the candidate and agreeing to terms was something that was discussed with the personnel committee prior in terms of the process and being very clear about process and procedure for interviewing candidates. And so this position, along with many others on the docket, are critical to operating the district with doing more with less. Again, you're already at a shell of staffing. And so the supports that are needed in this area, given what we just discussed regarding the instructional outcomes of this most critical and most vulnerable student population that we serve, is a necessary and vital to provide the day-to-day oversight, the day-to-day instructional support and evaluations of staff in that area, and provide critical support to the director who oversees the entire department. So that is my commentary.
I got just a logistical question, because my screen. What's the agenda number again on that one? Because
It's the agenda of the 8th.
I got a question. So what would be the difference? What's the compare and contrast between the director and the supervisor? I would rather hear from Dr. Loudville because she's in that position. So can I hear from you, please? What will be what's the difference? What's the support? What makes the difference between the director and the supervisor for that position?
With all due respect, Mr. Herman, the job description which the board has outlined clearly articulate the supreme difference between the
Director oversees the whole district, the supervisor oversees the whole district as well. I guess that's the confusion I'm getting, but if you could,
so one,
if you could make it clear for me, I just wanna know, that's all.
so one actually does the evaluations of staff, someone else's microphone is on. Besides, the supervisor does not complete the district, required reporting. To Mrs. Lau's credit, just this past year, she's in overseeing her function.
I ain't coming in.
No,
I
no,
don't know, I just wanted to, I also want to say, I just wanted to understand.
I'm just trying to explain the difference. We were able, through her leadership in overseeing the, refunds and the monies that we get, reimbursements, over $700,000, was it $700,000? 1.4, what was it? So $714,000 to $1.2 million in reimbursements. That is a direct oversight of all of our out-of-district and other oversights that are the functions of the director. When we look at the function and the job description of the supervisor of CNI, they handle the day-to-day support of the teachers, as well as some responsibilities of child care team members, as well as leading CPTs and grade level meetings and other professional developments. Yes.
From your description, I'm sorry, from this description, we've talked about this position being filled numerous times because people have gone on to higher positions. Right now, what intermediate position in this district that do we need that? And is it beneficial for us? Because, I mean, most of the stuff they're getting, it seems that we're giving to them and they're running out the door as soon as we have it. What type of focus do we have? Like you said, I mean, nobody's gonna be lifer, but you know, it's in 2 years, it's like three people. It's kind of where you put it. This is probably gonna run out the door tomorrow. Is the necessity there? Is the need? I mean, it's a question.
So, the position is a necessity, so the short answer is yes. And determination if someone is going to, be retained or sustained the highly stressful position of middle management. I think that's a national question that you ask any middle level manager.
May first, Dr. Johnson, I have a point of order. Board member discussion items in the public. That stating in public could be a violation of the Public Meetings Act by discussing things behind the public's back. So if the lawyer can say something about talking during the meeting without being on the mic, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
We're trying to just get a better understanding. Yeah, we just want to understand what was desired though, that's all. Ain't nobody talking, Mr.
Speak, literally every time Tracy Rogers speaks, you speak for the others. But it's not, that's.
I just want to show something on each of us. We just trying to get an understanding of what's going on here, that's all. That's all. Trying to be careful. Be careful, we're very careful.
You're talking.
Yeah, that's just saying, you're trying to get understanding. Yeah, but if he's saying it one way, we don't understand it, if someone else gets it and wants to, break it down, we don't get it like that. We don't need you to explain every single thing, every single time.
The public has to hear what you're saying.
No,
That's,
you got it, Barbara, you got it.
no, the public has to,
No, I ain't even get the argument with you.
you can't, have to have the public has to.
Like,
Hopefully,
do something, nice to do something.
we use Robert's rules of order, that's what I have to.
He asked me, what's really going on, how to break it down for you. If you really want the public to know, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. He just been concerned.
No, I
He
think that
couldn't speak for real, so he needs to understand you, so I'm breaking it down for him.
it's not.
No, you wanted to know, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. You want the public to know, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm trying to help my friends out right here, that's all.
Stopping, I mean, okay.
We're not going back and forth, Barbara, you got it, we're not going back.
I'm sorry.
No politics necessary. All right, can we move on, please? The public sees. Thank you. All right, can we do this?
I apologize.
My other point, I just want to ask a question about, B1, A, the interim, was how many, people from the personnel committee were involved in this interview?
Personnel committee consists of board members and new members of the personnel committee, other than the director of HR, participated in the selection of any staff.
What you, right now, the board secretary reports to us. And as, this information given, right now, we have the right to be involved in it process.
So, Mr. Rogers, to the extent your question is, are board members permitted to be involved in a personnel interview process? The School Ethics Commission has weighed in on this and has come down with, I believe it was an advisory opinion, that states that while boards may have a personnel committee, and while the personnel committee members can sit in and watch an interview, they are not to participate in the interview at all. And in fact, doing so may amount to an ethics violation. So if the question is, can board members who are on a personnel committee watch an interview? The answer is yes, so long as they're on the personnel committee and there is less than a quorum in that interview. However, the School Ethics Commission strongly cautions board members to really not be involved in the process. And that's, it's like, if you feel like you must be involved, this is the way to do it. But you're opening yourself up to potential ethics violations. That's from the School Ethics Commission.
Okay, right now, your attorney, right now, in that posting, it said that the board secretary reports to us. In the documents.
I'm not familiar with the job posting that says that the board secretary reports to the board.
Okay, that was, if you want to look at the bottom of the posting, it says to the superintendent and to the board secretary. So my question, and maybe I'll change it to benefit you, is were any board people from the committee there to listen to the answers to the board candidate being interviewed?
Okay, so fair question. My concern though is that we're starting to talk about an individual who's not yet employed by us. And that person arguably is entitled to some sort of privacy. So to the extent we're going to talk about anything related to the interview, I would suggest that we do so in executive session so as not to infringe upon the privacy rights of a prospective employee.
No, but that's why I said it, but us, I said, or we there to just, that's what I was committing, anybody in the committee there just.
I think that that's a fair answer, a question to have answered in public, but anything beyond that, I think we should do it exactly.
I think I did respond, the answer was no. But the state monitor, was an active participant, as well as the current BA, as well as the other members of the executive committee.
This question is on like the organizational chart in front of me. Does every director have a supervisor underneath them?
With the exception of human resources and student services.
Or all items being on number one to be number one, Mrs. Zinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Furlow,
Yes, on everything except for, B8-1A, I'm abstaining on that. There's a B8-1A.
thank you. Dr. Pennell,
Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Everything except B8-1A, no.
Ms. Riggs,
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes, and everything, well, yeah, yes on everything except for B1A and B8.
and those are no. Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Saunders?
Yes, that's up for the.
He is a
No.
thank you.
Oh, hold on. You're bringing that, yeah, B1A, B1A as well. B1, number 1A,
You're voting.
no.
Thank you. Salzman,
Yes.
and Ms. Golding.
Mr. Hastings, B1A is the interim business administrator, is that correct? I didn't, okay.
Yes, B1.
So that means when there's, so that means when you leave and weeks, there is no business administrator.
Will that motion carry?
Oh, did?
Yeah, I'm gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie. I feel as though we should have been included in that. Like the board should have been included in that, and the business administrator. That influence us. That person sits right here with us. Why don't we get a say so? We have this six that replaces Jeff.
We do, the board does. The superintendent is the only one that can recommend personnel and this. The board's gonna-
Yeah, but at the same time, we gonna interview, if we're gonna interview the superintendent that sits right here, and everyone else that sits right here, why don't we get to interview the business administrator that sits right here as well? They just voted on it, that's it. And I'm just saying, I feel as though we should have been included in that. The board should have been included in that. That's someone that's directly impacts us and the children. Why don't the board get to say so or even get to see who is about to sit right here? Now we about to just wing it.
I have a motion for item C1, number 1.
No.
To C6, number 1. Moving. Questions or comments? All items C1, number 1 through C6, number 1. So, Mr. Grover?
Say yes to everything except for, anything having to do with New Jersey American Water.
Ms. Hogan? Zelinski?
Yes.
Dr. Pettis?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
No.
Mr. Ricks?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers?
No.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Ms. Olszewski?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Okay, I'm going to read a statement before we go into public participation. So public participation in accordance with Board Policy 0167. In accordance with Board Policy 0167, the Asbury Park Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and other matters of importance and provides members of the public with the opportunity to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session, and all public comments shall be directed to the board president. Members of the public who wish to make their public comments must be recognized by the board president and provide his or her name, municipality of residence, and group affiliation if applicable. All public comments shall be directed to the presiding officer and are limited to 3 minutes in duration. Members of the public who do not follow the foregoing rules and/or interfere with the orderly operation of the board meeting may be removed.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open public discussion, please.
Do you have any response to our public company response?
Evening, Belmont around the Third Avenue, Asbury Park. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Ruiz for jumping on those numbers and presenting the Jersey graduate proficiency stats. Second, I would just suggest to the board administration during the summer, it's also a great time to get out other information showing progress and successes by the district. I believe, once again, you did Saturday classes in the spring. I think that's a great initiative. And for Lincoln, maybe show the community what's been accomplished by that as well. Being able to pick out the pockets of excellence in the division and let the community know prior to September would be great. With regard to management, I think a lot of times here, we get a lot of individual issues coming up, but I know that the board and this administration is focused on things like staff attendance and improving that. And I think as a general matter, now getting into individuals, progress and successes there could be reported as well. Still have 3 minutes. But finally, I do want to take a moment and wish Jeff Hastings well as he moves on to other challenges. I agree with Dr. Adams on all the positive attributes he pointed out, but and I want to thank you, Jeff, for all the help you gave me over the years understanding issues. But you do have one character flaw. The guy's got one character. Well, I've spoken to him many times about it. He just, he doesn't see it, not willing to change. So I thought it was only fair, him moving on, that he at least give new employer notice of his problem.
No. That's
Thank you.
At this time, we'll still look at information.
Just read this one
Oh,
comment.
yes.
This is from Catherine Healy, 305 8th Avenue, Asbury. I'm running again on the issue of closed school playgrounds. In the city review, playgrounds we have are often closed for indefinite amounts of time. Asbury kids deserve places to play that are familiar, safe, and accessible. As a parent and an elementary educator, I'm begging you to follow the lead of almost every other town and city and open the AP elementary and middle school playgrounds from dawn to dusk. Give the kids and families of Asbury Park more places to gather and play, please. Kids are still accessing closed playgrounds despite them being locked. They're just doing so unsafely by climbing the gate. Please, parents of Asbury are begging you to listen. Sincerely, Catherine Lynn.
Now, at this time.
Madam President, I just wanted to make a quick statement. So we enrolled our daughter in, the high school. And, she was able to earn a spot in the Dream Academy. And this past, few weeks ago, the Dream Academy had the summer program, summer cohort. And, I gotta tell you, she's still talking about it. I mean, she went into the classroom, she was really nervous. She was, didn't know anyone there. And even the other kids were kind of curious about her a little bit, like, who's this person here? And I gotta tell you, first of all, the teachers, the instructors that were part of the summer cohort, absolutely fantastic. Challenging enough for algebra, she can't stand algebra. And the ELA, she just loved it. And the best part was the fact that these kids had, and this is why I have to ask for pardon for my exuberance of posting about it online, not knowing that that wasn't an official picture, so my apologies for that. But there was also a portion of it where they learned about social justice and the history, and they learned about their Chavez and Malala and all these incredible human rights stories, and having speakers like Aaron Williams from the Tennis Initiative come in and speak about his upbringing, growing up in Camden and, growing up to become a Marine and doing things in the community. It was, if we ever want to highlight one specific thing about our high school, all the negative stuff out there and blog and this and that, I would challenge Ms. Waters from the blog to come and sit in on that classroom, because that was something that my daughter coming out of the district, coming into the district, she's still talking about it, and she's telling her friends about it. So I want to congratulate the teachers, the staff, anyone having to do with the Dream Academy. You have made such an incredible impression on that 14-year-old girl, and just over the moon about it. I can't wait to see what happens next year as she starts as a freshman. So just wanted to say that. Yeah, it's great.
Do you have the hit report, please?
Evening, everyone. So the good news is that we had no allegations of hits in the month of June. However, my department did an audit and we found that there were 3 cases that unfortunately weren't put in the hidden category that we had on the Genesis. So we were able to retrieve them. So I have to report on them. There was one, the first one was a 7th grader. This was back in January. And took place in the classroom at the middle school. And it's determined to not be a hit. The allegation was taking money in possession of another child. Again, it's no evidence to support it in that situation. The second hit that we had involved a 9th grader, which occurred in February 21st this year. And it was an allegation of a verbal or emotional bullying that was via electronic, and it was determined to be a hit. It's found to be a hit. The third allegation was involved a 7th grader, which occurred in the hallway at the high school, and this occurred on March 9th this year, and it involved verbal or demeaning conversations that was found to be a hit, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Make a motion to.
I'll read it for you. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act allows for the exclusion from discussion of the public portion of a meeting of certain matters as outlined below, whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education wishes to discuss such matters may and will make such discussion public when a proper conclusion has been reached. Now therefore be resolved, the Asbury Park Board of Education will hold a closed executive session on this date, January 27th at Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purpose as outlined and described below. That's for personnel matters and matters of litigation, contracts, and to receive attorney-client advice. It's anticipated that the board will be an executive session for approximately 15 minutes, God willing, after which time we will return to this room and close the meeting. It's anticipated that no formal action will be taken in executive session. To the extent that there's any action taken, it will be done here in this room in public when we return.
At the same spot. Oh, yeah. Okay. You can do it. I don't know what's the, what is the fact? Okay, thank you for the. Oh, yeah, that's absolutely. That's right.
So they're gonna go to the exec and everything else has been voted on, so. Yeah.
No, I think that's it. It's not a complete.
One and seven dollars. We're gonna go to close, come back.
Okay. Thank you all for the meeting. All right, let's make some speed. We just, finish the meeting on that. The second.